Hello and welcome to Think Like a Game Designer. I'm your host, Justin Gary. In this podcast, I speak with world-class game designers and creative pioneers across multiple industries. Each episode takes you on a deep dive into the creative process, exploring the nuances of game design and the extensive cultural, technological, and business factors influencing various creative fields. Tune in for practical tips and inspiring insights that will expand your creative perspective, whether it's inside the gaming realm or beyond. I have something I am so excited to finally announce. If you are serious about designing games, not just thinking about games, not just listening to the podcast and dreaming about games, but actually finishing your own designs, then I have created something for you. It is the brand new Think Like a Game Designer Design Lab. It is a step-by-step system that I have created and tested with dozens of other creators and other aspiring designers that includes over 60 lessons to take you from generating ideas to building prototypes to finding playtesters, refining your core design loop, all the way through publishing, running a crowdfund, and even getting hired in the industry. You'll also get access to my private design Discord filled with me, members of the Stoneblade team, and other creators all actively building games. Plus, I've got some incredible bonuses for people who join right now and for longtime fans of the podcast. If you're ready to stop pretending and start actually designing games with intention, check out the Think Like a Game Designer Design Lab at justingarydesigns.com. In today's episode, I speak with Mark Rosewater. Oh my goodness. I love chatting with Mark, and he was actually the second guest on the podcast. And I highly recommend that you listen to the first episode because there's a ton of gold in that. And there is a ton of gold in this one. Mark reveals his brand new game, the first time he's made a new game, but he has been designing Magic for 30 years. He's the head of design at Magic the Gathering, and he has so many deep insights about the nature of design, what it's like to work on games that are massively successful. Magic is more successful today than it's ever been with over 30,000 card designs. We talk about the lessons about what is it that leads to Magic success. We talk about how you acquire new players, the learnings from 30 years of growth, and what it means to create so much content. In addition to creating the game content, Mark has also created more writing about game design and more writing about the process of Magic than I would think it's pretty safe to say, any designer in the world, and he continues to do so with his many articles. We talk about what it takes for emotions, what role emotions play in the game. And there's this very specific, I won't tease exactly what the game is, you got to listen to the episode, how emotions are core to his new game experience, how emotions are core to the experience of any great gameplay, and even negative emotions and even strong negative reactions. And we talk about all of that stuff. So there is so much gold in here. Mark is really a treasure for anyone that wants to design games. In fact, his writing and his material was the stuff I trained myself on when I was first starting with games. So to be able to share his insights with you has been amazing. And I get to do it again. So without any further ado, here is Mark Rosewater. Hello and welcome. I am here with Mark Rosewater. Mark, it's so great to have you back on the podcast.
I know. So I've been listening to this podcast. So I've listened to almost every episode, I believe, and so it's fun to be back on. So
yeah, I am honored. You were my very second guest, and we are now at well over 100 episodes. And I mentioned it the first time. Anybody that did not listen to the first episode, I've re-listened to it again recently, and it's still just gold. A lot of really great, very detailed processes and design thinking and lessons that apply to everybody. But I told you then, and I've told you many times since then, you've been the biggest design inspiration to me. You have, at that time, you had still been the most prolific writer about game design and sharer of these insights and lessons. And you have not slowed down at all. You have your own podcast, which has accelerated past mine in a number of episodes. You have your own, your articles now, which you have, I don't even know how many you've written. And I just got to ask, how do you do it? What keeps you this is an insane amount of content that you've created.
Yeah. Just so for the audience to understand, I've passed 1,200 articles. I've passed 1,300 podcasts. And I have a blog where I answer questions every day. And I believe I've answered over 175,000 questions.
Those numbers are insane. I have a business and and make games and I run this podcast and I find it to be a lot to do as much as I do, and most people are impressed by what I do, and you blow me out of the water. So talk to me about what the motivation and the process, like how do you do it?
It's a couple things. One is I'm just at heart a writer. I mean, I'm just a communicator. Like that's my background. Before I was a game designer, I was a writer. That was my job. And so I think I'm compelled to write things. So that's the first part of it. Is that just I feel obligated, like it's my nature. I have to sort of do it. And the second part of it is I've learned in my job, as head designer of Magic the Gathering, that just interacting with the public is super valuable. Like my job is to make things that the players like. Well, how do I know what they like? Well, let's talk to them. And so I just find it to be a very, very useful tool to like getting an insight into the psyche of the players, which is just talk with the players. They very much have opinions. They don't all agree, and they want very different things. Like that's one of the challenges of game design is your audience isn't one unified force that all wants the same thing. They all want different things, and it's how can I make one thing that applies to a lot of different people in ways to make all of them happy, and that's the challenge.
Yeah, well, and you're inevitably going to be making some people unhappy, and it is a couple things from that, right? One, important lesson, right? Find out what your fans and what your players want, talk to them. But I also think there's a flip side to that, which is the players being able to humanize you and having you be able to communicate like your thinking and react to the things that the players are saying matters a lot too. So even when players disagree with a choice you made, or it's not like some faceless organization that like is just out to get them. It's you, Mark, who says, hey, here's why I did what I did, and there's reasons behind it, and you may not agree, but there's like, I care and I'm one of you, and like I think that matters a lot too.
Oh yeah, I mean, so the story behind this is when I first got into game design, I wanted to read about game design. I was like really excited, and there was nothing. I mean, like there were like books that were out of print, and like there was just nothing. And so when I first got to Wizards and I was sort of inside the building, I just like, okay, I'm going to write about this because I wish somebody would write stuff for me. And so I just started writing about it. And at the time, like nobody wrote about game design because like nobody was supposed to write. I don't know, like the companies didn't want their people writing about it. And Wizards was so young that no one knew to stop me, I guess. By the time someone asked, like, should Mark be doing this? I'd been doing it so long and Magic was successful. Like, okay, I guess it's fine. And I like to think that a lot of the modern day, like I like to think I'm part of the thing that pushed game designers to start talking about game design because, 30 years ago it wasn't there, and now like if you make a new game, how do you not talk about the game design? So I hope that's some of my influence on the world is just getting people to talk about game design.
Yeah, no question. And I've had a similar motivation that, when I was first learning how to do this and I made my transition from like a pro player to a game designer, there was very limited material about how to do this, and it was a very difficult transition. And your material was a godsend to me, and the other material that you had referenced me to, like A Whack on the Side of the Head, and others that were like books on creativity that were super helpful, helped me to figure out how to do the job. But it was still so much that's why I wrote my book and do this podcast and these things, like sharing this information. And also, I think, as you said, I think the other thing I wanted to key in off of your answer is like you're a communicator and a writer by default. Like you can't not do it. You enjoy doing it, and it's a way that you not only express yourself but also work through your own thinking, and like it forces you to be better at what you do by having to communicate it. And that's what I felt in sort of my own work. So like it makes you a better designer in process.
I definitely agree with that. That one of the nice things about having to write it is it really makes me figure out what I'm thinking. Like I'm a very intuitive designer. Like I do things so they feel right. And then some of the times, like I got to write about it so I can figure out why exactly I think it's right.
Yeah.
And so I do find writing very therapeutic from a design sense of just sort of working through what exactly is going on in my head. For example, at Magic, we have two main sections of design. We call vision design and set design. And I require all vision designers when they finish to write a document that explains what they're doing that they hand off to the next thing. And the reason that's so important is I want them to have to think about it and write it down. And the mere act of having to write it down does a lot to just really understanding what you've done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. I think that's why I encourage everybody to, when they are working on these designs. I just started a new version of my Think Like a Game Designer kind of design lab class, and I said from the beginning,
writing down the elevator pitch concept for your game is super valuable because it's what is your vision for what you're doing, not just for how you're going to sell it at the end, but like having a clear vision. And it could be that it's wrong and you go through the core design process and you change it, but forcing yourself to communicate, this is my hypothesis, this is what I think is fun and cool.
Yeah.
Then let's test that against the world. And then, okay, am I right? Am I wrong? How do I modify it? Is so much better than just like trying things and not really knowing even what like the heart of what you're trying to do is.
Yeah, one of the big things I find with designers when I work with like newer designers is they do what I call fence sitting, which is like, I don't want to commit to anything, so I'll stay in the middle. So no matter what, and I'm like, no, just pick something. If you're wrong, I don't care. You'll figure that out and then you'll change. But if you don't pick something, you'll never figure out what's right. And like, I have a little bit of everything is horrible design. Like, pick a path.
Yeah.
Commit to something and then go down that path and see if it's right. And maybe it's not. Okay, but then you'll figure that out. And that I think I really think part of the iterative process is committing to something, because how do you iterate? Like, try something and then you'll learn from it. And then, okay, if it works, it doesn't work, you're in a much better place than you just don't really commit to anything.
Yeah. And what do you think that comes from? Why is it that because I've noticed the same trend in new designers I hire too, right? Why is it they don't make that choice and commit?
I think there's this fear that they'll make the wrong choice. And the funny thing is, good design, you make infinitely wrong choices. Like, good design is all about making wrong choices. And so it's just getting them to understand that there's like making wrong choices is part of the process. There's nothing wrong with making wrong choices. But I just think that they're afraid, you know, like, oh, what if I make the wrong choice? I'm like, well, that's how you succeed, is by making wrong choices. That gets you to the right choice.
Yeah, I teed you up for that one. That was it. I knew where that answer was going to go. No, but it's so important, right? It's like, it's fear. It's this fear of being wrong, this fear of not like, that I'm going to make a mistake and that's not okay. And like the mistakes are the process. The failure is the process. Like and this is where, when we talked last, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe you've been doing this for over 20 years and you've got how do you keep going through it? And now you've passed 30 years doing it since the last time we did the podcast. Yeah. And it's like, what's the difference between you now and you back then? And I'll let you answer it to the degrees, but just like, you've made so many more mistakes. That's so fantastic, right? You've gotten to be able to make so many mistakes. You're able to calibrate so much better.
Yes, it's funny. The day we're recording this, I just put up a podcast about how have I changed in the last 30 years. Was my top one of my topics for my podcast. Like, someone asked me, like, how's your design changed? And really, the core of it is, the more I design, the larger picture I think. Like, what I sort of describe it is like, when you're first designing Magic, it's like you're all about the cards, and then you're about like the cycles, and then the mechanics, and then the sets, and then the year. Like, it just keeps getting bigger because you're just trying to think of, I want to understand the larger processes. Yeah. And then just the more I design, the more like, it's like I've made thousands of individual cards. That's not really I'm not as focused on that anymore. It's sort of like, how do we make new processes? How do I make better designers? How do we make, how do we improve it so that everything gets better, not just one individual card gets better?
Yeah. You're building the game that builds the game, right? You're building, and I think there's another layer to it, which is, you now I think can speak to, which is, I mean, building culture and building legacy in a way that is, 30 years plus is and the scale, as far as I know, I mean, Magic's bigger than it's ever been and continues to break records after records constantly.
Yeah. That's our best year.
Yeah, I've heard that story many years now, and that's wild to me, right? I mean, like, I talk about, oh yeah, I played Magic the Gathering, and I was and it's like, oh yeah, I remember that game, and then it's like, well, yeah, is that still around? Like, no, it's actually bigger than it's ever been, which is ludicrous to me. I mean, like, kudos obviously to you and the team. To what do you attribute that? And when you think about scale, I mean, there's many things, of course, but like, to reach the scale that it has, what is it? What would you say? Let's say, like, kind of the three things that come to mind is like, what's the biggest things that you've done right, or the things that you're now doing to sort of see this legacy continue for another 30 years?
Yeah, I mean, once again, I should stress by starting, it's a huge team. So like, there's lots and lots of people working on this. So as I'm talking about it, it's not like this is some solitary project. Many people working on this. Here's what I think is kind of the secret of our success. One is, okay, first and foremost, Richard Garfield just made an amazing game. It's a really, really good game. I mean, I personally think it's the best game ever made. I'm a little biased, but I mean, it's just a fun game. Yeah. And that one of our secrets of success has been just get people to play the game. Just get them to sample the game, because it's so good. A lot of people go, oh, this is amazing. This is super fun. And like recently, for example, we just did what we call Universes Beyond, where we're doing other properties. And what it's been really good at is like Magic's big problem is what we call barrier to entry, meaning it's a complicated game. And not knowing anything and then knowing enough to play is intimidating. So you have to do something that really encourages people to try it. And it turns out, if we say, what's your all-time favorite property? Well, what if we made a game out of that? Like that, people will try it where they wouldn't before. And then the secret is Magic's awesome. And so once they try it, they stick around. I mean, not everybody, but enough people stick around because it's fun. And then we grow the game because more people are playing Magic.
And so do you think so? Universes Beyond is one of the most interesting developments over the last, whatever it is, 5 years, 6 years you've been doing Universes Beyond now? Something like that.
Yeah.
And I love it. I know that, and that makes a perfect amount of sense to me, right? You take the coolest IP and things that people love and have nostalgia and joy for, you bring it into this world for people who are previous fans of Magic. I know many of which, I mean, I played the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle set at Gamma, and I hadn't played Magic in over a year or whatever, actual like face-to-face Magic. It was awesome. And so it's an easy way to bring back old players. It brings in new players who are like, oh, I like this brand. Let me see what it's like, and gets us through the barrier. Do you think that is like kind of the top reason for its growth over the last 5 years, that time window?
I mean, so you asked for three things. Number one is we're doing the best we can to find more ways to expose people to the game. It's an awesome game, and part of that is just find more ways to get people to get access, and I think we're doing that very well. Number two is I think we finally embraced the complexity as a plus. I think we spent a lot of time like, let's simplify it. How can we teach it? And in the end, what made people want to play Magic is not that it's simple. What made people want Magic is the infinite depth. So I don't assume your audience knows everything about Magic, but sometime a year or two ago, we crossed 30,000 cards, unique cards. So, chess has, 6 pieces, like, I mean, so Magic is one of the things that's really nice about Magic is I don't say it's like a game system. It's not really a single game. And that there's lots of ways to play, and you want to play Commander or Modern or Booster Draft, whatever. There's infinite ways to play it, and that Magic is very adaptable. So I think that we've leaned into that the complexity is kind of the fun of the game, and that now what we want to do is just show you how much fun it is, show you how deep it is, and let people enjoy that rather than try to like dumb it down to make the simplest version of it. Because we did some tests at one point where we did a very simplified version of it, and we did focus groups, and at the end they're like, would you play this again? No, it's too simple. Like, oh no, we made them think Magic was too simple. Something went horribly awry.
Interesting.
So that embracing the complexity of it, embracing the flavor, like a lot of what people love about the game is all the depth and all the different things that you can do. And the third thing I would say is meeting Magic players where they want to be. So like Commander is kind of the classic example. So Commander we didn't make Commander. The players made Commander.
And just for context, Commander is a multiplayer, more casual format that now has become pretty much the most popular way to play, as far as I know, in terms of. Yeah.
Traditionally in Commander, instead of starting at 20 life, which is the normal life, you start at 40 life and normally play with 3 other people. So it's a 4-person game, and you start at double the life that you normally start at. And it's a very, very casual format. And that basically somebody made it. And Sheldon Menery really was one that really sort of pushed it in the Magic circles. And then we decided to dip our toe in it, and we made some Commander decks. And they were horribly successful. So we made more. And then just the ball kept rolling. And now, in tabletop, it's the most dominant way to play Magic. And I think that part of our success has been, look, Magic can be a lot of things to a lot of people. Let it be that there's no reason that you can't have a pro tour with people competing for lots of money at the same time that people are just having fun and goofing around with their friends. And that flexibility, I think, is a big part of what makes Magic sort of,
So how do you think about how you apportion your resources and products in that sense, right? So you want to be where players are. So you want to have stuff for the casual player that's playing Commander. You want to have stuff for the competitive player that's playing in tournaments. You want to have people that like to do sealed events, people who are just coming in for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? What is there a bigger picture strategy to it, or is it just like, okay, well, we sold out this many of this thing, so we're going to make that percentage more of our resources towards that? Or
I mean, the answer is, and part of my goal today is a lot of your podcast talked about the very beginning part of design, like how do I get my very first design. Today's going to be a little bit of lesson about, okay, you're there. There's a lot of interesting lessons. So the lesson here is data matters. Data is very important. And I know that might sound like I know that creative people are like, oh, I want to be creative, but you can be creative, but you have to listen to the data. And that we live in an era now where we have the ability to get so much data. And that, I mean, that's how do you design games now is you want to figure out what your audience likes. How do you figure out what your audience likes? There are infinite ways to get data, and then you have to crunch the data. And not only is collecting the data complicated, crunching the data is complicated, but look, data is very important. And if you're going to be an actual game company making actual games, I mean, obviously you know this because you have a game company, but like the data is so essential.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so let's demystify, because data is a big fuzzy word, right? Yes, I understand it in principle, but what does this mean really?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different ways to do data. I mean, the low-hanging fruit that people always think about is like sales. And yes, sales is important. If a lot of people buy something, that does in fact mean something. We also do a lot of market research where we actually get people. And there's two different types of market research. There's the one where we try to get you when you come to us. Like if you come to the Magic website, you can click on this and take a survey. And the other is when we go try to find people. And there's the ones where we go to where we expect Magic players to be, and the ones where we go where we don't expect Magic players. We call it deep dives, where we're like just going out in the public and keep asking people till we find Magic players. That's a lot harder to do because you're going through a lot more people. So we do market research. There's digital data. We have digital ways to play. That stuff we can market really well. There's sanction way to play, so we can take track of that. There's a lot of trends online. Like we can look at how much people talk about certain things. Like there's infinite online data you can get. And there are different sites that collect data for different things in different formats. And like there is a lot of data.
Yeah.
And then we have a whole section of our company that both collects the data and then crunches the data, because like you need like math majors here, the people that know what they're doing. Like it's very complex. Like it's not. I mean, I do enjoy talking to people, and I think there's anecdotal stuff that I get from talking to people, which is very valuable. But that's very, very different than trying to get the data. And the answer is, what do we make? Our data kind of tells us what the audience wants, because the audience, in many ways, like through gameplay, through talking online, through buying products, through like all the different ways that people connect with the world, we can look into that, and it just says what people want to do. And that one of the, like, I have a blog where people ask me questions all the time. And so much of the time people are like, why are you doing this? I'm like, because people want it. That's why we're doing it. Because people want it. And maybe it's not you. Maybe this thing is not for you personally, but there is somebody it's for. And you know, that's who we're doing it. I have a metaphor that I like. I call it my buffet metaphor, which is we're trying to make the best trading card game in the world. How do we do that? Well, we just give lots of different foods. How do you make a great buffet? And that, do you like seafood? We got seafood. Do you want ham? We got ham. Do you want chicken? Do you want pasta? Do you want a salad bar? What do you want? And then we want to try to provide that. But the tricky part of it is that some people go, I love the salad bar, but I hate seafood. And the answer is, well, eat the salad bar and try to ignore the seafood. But there's people that love seafood. That's why we have seafood.
No, it's a funny analogy, because there's something about the psychology of a TCG, right, of a trading card game, that people have this feeling like they need everything. And so I definitely know there's a sentiment amongst the Magic community that like, oh, they're releasing too many products, or they're trying to do too many things, or like it's too hard to keep up. Like where like whatever, I know you well, and I understand what's going on. And you guys, the people want these things, and they're selling, and there's lots of cool stuff. But for some reason, there's a psychology that's a shift around if there are things that they don't necessarily, that are not for them at the buffet. I have to eat everything. I have to eat everything at the buffet.
I mean, so it's funny, when Richard first made the game, Richard's vision was that he didn't want to tell anybody anything about the game. You know, we'll lead into a later topic of today, but one of the core ideas of a trading card game is what Richard calls bigger than the box, meaning that most games, when you play the game, you have all the pieces. Like everybody plays with the same pieces. But a trading card game, that's not true. That you're playing with some of the pieces. And as I said, we have 30,000 pieces. There's no way to play with all the pieces. And so Richard's early vision was we don't tell anybody anything, but the internet was born and like it was just too hard to hide information.
Yeah.
But Magic's actually gotten to a point now where we make so much that on some level it is now like Richard wanted you to sit down in a game of Magic and someone plays a card, you go, I've never seen that card before.
Yeah.
I think we've kind of come back around to Richard's vision where, look, it's not that we can't hide information. It's just there's enough information that you can't process it.
Yeah. And so no mortal man can understand all of these cards.
I mean, I think the hard part is I understand the audience that just wants to experience everything, but on some level, like Magic is really good at additive and bad at subtractive is what I like to say. Like if somebody wants something, they're happy. I can add that. I can add new things for people who want it. But in order for me not to do something, I have to take away for everybody. And the example I give is I had someone write me a letter on my blog and said, look, I have arachnophobia. I am deathly afraid of spiders. I literally can't play if there's a spider on a card in the game. Please, 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 could you just stop putting spiders on cards? And I'm sympathetic. Like, it's not that I want to ignore this person's plea. I get it. I like, look, it really impacts him playing Magic. But the problem is, if am I going to not make spiders for all the people that love spiders because he doesn't like spiders? Like that's the challenge is for everybody who hates something, somebody else loves that thing. And that we can make things people love. It's hard to avoid things people hate. And that's another kind of important game design lesson is you have to just make sure everybody has something they love. Don't try to avoid having anything people hate because what somebody loves, somebody else will hate.
Yeah, well, and I think like, to give the more sort of controversial side of this, like I think like if nobody hates something in your game, then you're not doing a good enough job. Like I think that there is a version of like, especially with a collectible game like this, right? Like you want people to care a lot and you want them to have very big emotional reactions to things. And obviously you want them on balance to be very positive things, but there have to be the counter side to that. There have to be, when there's this constant discovery, some things that you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened to me, or I can't believe that card exists, or I can't believe this happened to me. Like there is a range of which you want some of the things that people love to hate to be out there. Like, in a sense, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I literally don't believe you can make something that some people truly love that other people won't hate. If you're going to make strong emotions, you can't just make strong emotions in one direction. Like you're going to make strong directions in many directions. And I did a talk at GDC back in 2016. At the time, it was my 20th anniversary. So I did 20 lessons for my 20 years working. And one of them was, if everybody likes your game, but nobody loves it, it'll just fail.
Yes.
And the idea is your goal is not to offend anybody. Your goal is to make everybody in their own way fall in love with what you're doing. And that means you got to commit and do things. And that, you're going to piss people off. But that, right, as you're saying, like no game that's going to be a successful game is not going to upset somebody in some way because the very nature of what makes it exciting and different, it'll rub some people the wrong way.
Yeah. Yeah. And it goes back to kind of what we talked about at the beginning of like, as a designer, being willing to make a choice and make a bold choice and go forward with it. And, whether that be in early testing to find out if it's a bad choice overall and it's not a good trade-off, or as in the later stages, we're like, I'm going to make this statement and this game is this card or this game or the set or this whatever is for this person and it's not for this person, and that's okay. And like being able to take that stand is like important, and it's hard because listen, I've felt plenty of this, but no to a degree of what you have. Like the hatred and ire of the internet that comes forward to you. I mean, I've had people calling for my death. Literally because of card designs. It's like it takes a thick skin.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of people at Wizards that do what I do that like sort of are a public face. For the reason is like people just will be very negative. Like if I want to go on any day, I can go on Reddit and have people say nasty, nasty things about me. I can find that every day of the week.
Yeah.
And you just sort of like the thing that really I've learned over time, this is how I got my thick skin, is everybody is trying to tell you something. A lot of them don't know how to tell you the right way, but they're trying to tell you something. Yeah. And if you look past the language of how they're saying it, well, what are they saying? And a lot of times it's like, I like this thing, I don't like that thing. That they're communicating something about the game that, from a game design standpoint, it's important to understand.
Yeah, exactly. And again, it just speaks to like they really care about the thing you made, right? Like the fact that they're going to take the time to like create this vitriolic post about you, like you've done something that they really cared about this game, even if they're mad, right? It means you've touched, you're doing something that matters, and sometimes it's going to rub people the wrong way. And I agree with your assessment there of like, give people a charitable interpretation, reword their statements, and try to get the value out of it when you can.
Yeah, as a game designer, you should not fear hatred. You should fear disinterest.
Yes.
That is what you should very fear is there's so many other games to play. If your game just bores them, then they'll go play other games. If they want to spend time going on a board to scream about how awful your game is, like you're doing something that's at least invigorating them to want to do that. So
yes. As a game designer, you should not fear hatred. You should fear disinterest is probably going to be the title of this episode at this point.
Okay.
And it ties well because it also is an important emotion. So I am going to switch to the topic that you're most excited to talk about. But I have one last thing I want to talk about with Magic, with a comment that you made, because it's something I debate a lot internally. Okay. You said we're leaning into complexity as a plus.
Yeah.
And one of the things I have noticed over the years is the increasing complexity of the cards and the game, and the completing word count on the cards in the game. Yeah. And and for me, I have, as a designer, I have always very much like appreciated, a clean aesthetic and like trying to sort of minimize that stuff. And I have felt that I could be very wrong, or that I have overvalued that in my own work potentially. And I'm curious if it's just because Magic has 30,000 cards and because the core game is so good that you either have to, or it's okay to do this, or in fact, people don't care about this as much as I think they do. And that like, the value of just like getting all of the stuff out there is worth, like, it doesn't, card count, word count doesn't matter. And I'm curious where we are on this.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. So Commander became the number one tabletop game. So I've played my share of Commander games, obviously. And when you sit in a Commander game and you look around the table and process what's going on, there is so much happening. Like, and there's times in which you go, I'm just going to worry about what I'm doing. I don't know if I can even process everything on the board. It gets very complex. And I'm saying this is the most popular way to play, and it is far from the simplest way to play. And I think what I realized, it's not that you want no simplicity. It's not that like, I'm a big fan of, can you cut words? I'm not saying don't think about what you're doing in a way that's easy to grok and understand. But I do think that how people respond emotionally to what you're doing is very important. And that basically what I discovered is if players are invested, they will work through a little more complexity. That what's more important is that they're invested and excited than that they don't have to understand everything right away if they're really excited, because they'll learn it and understand it. And I agree with you. I mean, there's the game designer in me that wants to make everything the most elegant, simple thing possible. And Magic has ebb and flowed. We definitely had sets where we were trying to cut and have the least number of text on. We've done that. I've been there. And I don't think that leads to the happiest players. So there's a sweet mix between what's the fewest number of words that can do the things you want. Like right now, we're trying really hard to make sure there's enough room for flavor text. And so like we are doing metrics to make sure that we're not making too many words, because we want flavor text on enough cards. And we want, like, there is a balance. I don't want people to feel like caution to the wind, just make everything as complex as it can be. That's not correct either. But the simplest form of it is not the correct answer. There's a sweet middle spot where you're combining sort of the coolness of what you're doing with the flavor of what you're doing in a way that makes people want to care. And I finding that sweet spot's been a lot of our recent sort of explorations.
Yeah. So then just to dig into this a little bit further, because I think it's a tough challenge, and you've highlighted it well. It's like getting them to the point of being invested and excited. And so what are the triggers that get them to that point, right? So for example, I'm just going to go old school because I'm more familiar with old school Magic stuff, right? Like the form of the dragon, right?
Yes.
One of the coolest card designs of all time, in my opinion, right? Because
Brian Tinsman.
It is a thing that like the rules are like not that not that easy, but they are so flavorful and tied to the thing, right? They like I
But
get
you are a dragon is the
I-
flavor.
all right, I am a
You
dragon.
become a dragon.
I'm a dragon, and here's what it means to be a dragon, and it kind of, you can see how it connects to how a dragon works in the game, and like what it means for me to be a dragon, and that's like, it's awesome because like the story, the art, and the concept get me past the complexity, and that is not like nearly as complex as the most complex things. Like the planeswalker mechanic, for example, I felt was like, I was on the wrong side of this. So I'll say, like, I thought it was way too complex when it got introduced. I was like, I can't believe it. There's so many rules associated with this thing. Like, what the hell? So much going on. But the story and what it allowed you to tell ended up being sort of worth it. Is it the evocativeness of the character and the world thing? Is it like, what are the tricks that get people invested and excited enough to leap over the complexity barrier?
Yeah, I mean, my core belief, well, I'm gonna tell a little story here, which is going to connect to this and to later here.
Okay.
Is so when I was my freshman year of college, I took a writing class, and one of the exercises is that we had to pick an author, and we had to read a whole bunch of short stories by that author. And then the teacher said, "Okay, now every writer has a theme. Can you tell me the theme of the author you just read?" And then you would try to figure out the theme. And then she goes, "Okay, you are a writer. You have a theme. What is your theme?" And so when I did the discovery, what I realized is, here's my personal theme. And it just bleeds through everything I do, writing, game design, everything, which is, people fundamentally want to think of themselves as being intellectual. But in the end, we make almost all our decisions based on emotion, that we are driven by emotion. We have this illusion that we're intellectual creatures, and in the reality, we're really driven by our emotions. And I've always been fascinated by one of my big beliefs as a designer is, I'm trying to get an emotional response out of my player. Like that's really the core of this, right? Is if I show you a card and I just tap into something that just makes you excited or happy or even scared, or I mean, it doesn't have to be happy. You can tap into other emotions. You, the player, it means something to you, and that the reality is, on some level, you have your life outside the game, but you bring in elements of your life into the game. Whether it's resonant things, whether it's properties, whether it's things that just mean something to you. And that whenever we can tap into these human emotions and we can make you, the player, like feel something, that's gold. That is where the sweet spot is, form a dragon is like, I get to be a dragon. And do these things make sense to each other? Well, they do if I'm a dragon, and that's why it makes sense. Like, if I showed you the card without the name or the art, you're like, what is this card? It looks like gobbledygook. But the second I go, but you're a dragon, you're like, I'm a dragon. And I think that is the key. That if you could, it's a combination of resonance, but it's just tapping into that emotional, getting people to go, ooh, it's this thing, and I'm so excited for this thing.
Yeah. I love it. Okay. All right. Now that we have gotten to the strength of emotional responses.
Yes.
We will use
talking about emotions.
Yes, your response of emotions.
Okay, so I'm the head designer of Magic, but today, the reason I actually called you in the first place was not to talk about Magic. I mean, I'm happy to talk about Magic because Magic is fun. But so back in 1998, so 28 years ago, I had been working at Wizards for 3 years, and I came up with an idea. So here was my core idea, which was, so Richard Garfield, when we made Magic, made the trading card game. And I love the trading card games are awesome. But I said, one of the problems, I mean, Magic's an amazing game, the best game ever made, but it's complex. Like I said, it's a complex game. There are people that are just never going to get into Magic just because it's too complex for them. It's just not for everybody. It's for many people, but not for everybody. What if we made a trading card game that captured everything that was fun about trading card games, but was simpler? Was just my thought is, there's a spectrum. Magic is probably on the one end of the spectrum. Like, here's about as complex as a trading card game can get. What is the other end of the spectrum? And that was my little challenge to myself is, okay, I want to make a trading card game that takes everything that's awesome about trading card games, but what's the simplest form of it I can do? What is the easiest form I can do? What is the lowest barrier? I want the lowest barrier. Magic has this huge barrier. I want a low barrier to entry. How do I do that? And so that was my challenge back in 1998.
And And now this is fun for me because when you mentioned this project, I played this game with you back in 1998. This is one in between rounds at the Pro Tour and various side things. I would hang out and we would play many rounds of this, and it was super fun. It was, lots of things still in flux, but I think the core of it is actually still pretty much intact.
Yeah, the core idea from 1998. Like I have all my old playtest cards. In fact, at MagicCon, but by the time you heard this, MagicCon will be over. But at MagicCon, I did a talk, in which I show like every version of it. Because the story of Mood Swings is me. I came up with a great idea, and it's just trying to convince somebody that my idea is worth doing. That's one of my through lines for today, because this is a game design podcast, which is a good idea in a vacuum is not necessarily just enough. That you have to convince other people of your idea, and that when you do something that's off the beaten track, when you do something that hasn't been done before, it's very hard to convince people because there's nothing to point to. You can't just say, oh, it's just, because every time I compare it to Magic, there's all the things it didn't do that Magic did. So let me walk from the audience. Let me walk a little through what the game is so they can understand. So I said to myself, what is the simplest version? So I said, for starters, I don't want deck building. That's really complicated. I have to build a deck. That's very complicated. So I said, okay, what if we took the idea of a card, just a basic idea of a card game? If you go to the store and you buy Uno or Milborn or whatever, name your favorite just card game. The idea is I go in, I plunk down my money, I buy a bunch of cards, and that's it. I own a game. I can play the game. I have the game right away. I don't have to go make the game. Like Magic's really weird, and like you buy pieces to a game and like, okay, now go put together the game. There was an ad we did many years ago where when we made the first pre-constructed decks, and the ad was just, it showed all the ingredients for a pizza laid out. And it said, sometimes you don't want to make it, I just want the pizza. I don't want the ingredients to a pizza. And so the idea was, okay, I just want a game where you buy it off the shelf and it's the game, right? That's what I wanted. Like, I don't want you to have to build anything, but it's a trading card game. And so here was the core idea. And this is an idea that to me is fascinating, but convincing people of this took some time. So the idea is when I go to the store, if you and I go to the store and we buy the same game, you and I go each buy Uno, right? If you play at my house or I play at your house, it's the same game, right? It's that it doesn't matter where we play. But imagine if my copy of the game does not have the same cards as your copy of the game. So when we play at my house, it's the same basic game, but it's slightly different because I just have some cards you don't have. We probably have some cards in common, so there's some familiarity, but there's just, and when I go play my, another friend, I might see cards I've never seen before, and that was the idea. That the cool part of a trading card game is I like collecting, I like trading, I like adaptability, I like card combos, but I just wanted to make it a lot simpler. And so I just kind of threw away what I consider the complex stuff, which is, okay, you don't have to build anything. We will just give it to you. But each person gets something unique. And that's kind of the cool part about it.
Yeah. So this business model then is, and as a way, you're going to buy this product. It is a randomized product that has rarity, just like somebody would expect from a pack of Magic, except my one box is everything that we all need to play, however many players.
Well, I'll give you the exact. So you'll buy a box. It will have 45 cards in it. You'll have 23 commons, 14 uncommons, 6 rares, and 2 mythics.
Okay.
And that game, you never have to touch another card. That is a complete game. You can play that game for the end of time. It's fun. It's a very fun game. If you can buy the game and ignore it, you never have to go outside your house. You can play that game. It's a game. I've sold you a game, much like you bought any other card game that you would buy in the store.
Well, okay. And your enthusiasm around enforcing that message gets to the core of where I want to push on this, right?
No. Be aware. It took me 28 years to get this game made. So there's some questions. I'm very open to that.
Yeah. And again, this is a great game. You get out of the way. This is a great game. I'm going to buy it. I recommend everybody else buy it. Try it out. Regardless, even if you ignore this business model discussion that we're going to have and how much pushback I'm going to give to Mark, the game is fun and you will have fun playing it out of the box. I did 20 plus years ago. You will also. So let's put that aside. But many people have tried to bite at this apple, and I have also considered biting at this apple, and I have bitten at this apple with Richard Garfield, in fact.
Yes.
the idea of trying to create a complete game that is unique to each person, right? We did SoulForge Fusion together. We used digitally, algorithmically generated cards, so every single deck was unique. You don't have to build your deck, but you shuffle them up and go. He did Keyforge, another version of that. We've had, I went down the road for a while, and I actually did my own market research about doing this for Ascension, where we would have center decks that were algorithmically generated and built so that you would have a unique deck building game every time you purchased it. And our fans were livid at the idea. Now, maybe that was wrong, but they didn't like it. They liked the idea that I know what my experience is. It's custom crafted the thing. And so there's this weird space that you're playing in of like, just like we talked about people that get mad at the buffet of Magic the Gathering because they feel like with a collectible game, I want to be able to eat everything at the buffet. Yeah. You've created a it's not a buffet. Maybe it's kind of a
Oh, it's a buffet sampler.
Yeah, it's like a little bento box kind of a station here. I don't know what it is, but it's something different. It's going to create some different psychological responses in players. So, talk to me about what that
this is my idea: is that there's different levels of players. Some people want to buy a game and they own the game and they're done. Great, they can do that. This allows them that opportunity. But the idea that one of the fun things about a trading card game is there are other cards out there, and that the intent behind it is Magic's business model is a very different business model, right? You're going to constantly be buying cards. So this business model is like, the idea essentially is there's a much wider market that you can, like, what if we could sell to a lot of people a game that they normally would just buy the box and be done, but some of them will go beyond that. Some of them will get excited enough that they'll buy the second deck to mix in with their first deck. Or they'll, the idea essentially is, can we sell somebody a basic game that is expandable if they want it to be expandable, but not if they don't? That's the premise.
Was that, Magic in principle is that too, right? I could buy just some starters and play, and then I don't have to buy anything else.
Magic definitely has, so one of the things about mood swings, I guess I should explain, you all play off the same deck for starters.
Right.
So in Magic, I'm building my own deck and playing against you. And there's a lot of reasons from a business standpoint, this is great. There's a lot of like, oh, I play you and you beat me. Well, I want more cards, so now I can beat you, right? There's this idea that I'm constantly evolving and upgrading my deck.
Yeah.
Which is a big part of Magic. And when I first pitched this idea, exactly, you're like, but why would people need to upgrade to the deck? I'm like, well, they don't have to. And they're like, but no, that's what trading games are all about. And the idea is, I think there's people who will want to explore that can explore, but I'm trying to make something like, essentially the idea that is, can we introduce trading card games to an audience that will never play trading card games, that has never interacted with trading card games?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the core of my idea is, I think that there's something fun about trading card games that a non-core gamer might enjoy. But there's no way for them to ever play it, because the only ways to play trading card games are kind of at a level of gameplay they're never going to experience. And so, look, the game isn't out yet. I have no idea whether or not this will be successful, but the premise of it is, can we introduce a trading card game to a non-trading card game audience? I believe the trading card game people will have fun with this. So one of the jokes I make is Richard Garfield, when he originally was trying to sell Magic, actually wasn't selling Magic. He was selling a game called Robo Rally. He goes and meets Peter Atkinson from Wizards of the Coast, and Peter's like, we can't make that game because they were a tiny company. He goes, that the cost of goods is too high for us. We can't make that game. So Richard said to him, well, what can you make? I can make you a game. What do you want? And so Peter said to him, I want a game that you can play in between Dungeons and Dragons games. That was the line he gave. So my pitch for this game's always been, I want a game you can play in between Magic games.
Yeah, that was also my pitch for Ascension. So.
It's very fast. It is the essence of the game. This is the rules in a nutshell. On my turn, I play one card. On your turn, you play one card. We add up our scores. Whoever wins the turn wins, and then win 3 turns and you win. It's very fast. It's very simple.
Yes.
There's complexity in the card interaction.
Yeah, the cards all interact, and there's combos and different colors or the moods or emotions or the different colors, and so you get that it does scratch that trading card game itch in that you know you can see the different combos and play off different things, and some crazy turns can happen, even though it's I play a card, you play a card, go. So yeah, I think obviously you're great at what you do. I think anybody that knows your background and things, can there's the core of the design of the game is good. That's part of why I'm just poking at the.
Oh no,
the
no, I mean. So when I say, for example, I've been trying to make this game for 28 years, well, why? Why have you been trying to make it for 28
yes,
years? I mean,
this is the next
part
question.
of that, and that's kind of why I wanted to come on this podcast, which is, it's not enough. Like, there's this kind of dream that I think game designers have is, I come up with a great idea, and then that's it. Once I have the great idea, I'm done. It's write me the check, And the reality is, no, you have to make something that somebody has to want to sell. And a lot of the challenges I had with this game is it's like Magic, but it's not Magic. And there's a lot of things about it that, like, it does not have, you don't have to build up your collection and buy more cards necessarily. Now, part of what I'm saying is, I think there's people who will get into this who want to experience more cards and who will do that because they want to, not because they have to, not the game forces them to, but that, like, just collecting and there's some people that will get into that. That's part of the fun trading card.
Well, yeah. I mean, like in a sense, right? This is not that different from what people expect from games that have expansion contents, right? Like people buy. We have 17 standalone expansions of Ascension. If you like Ascension, you just play Ascension. But if you want more Ascension, congratulations, I've got more Ascension for you. Or games like Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity style thing, right? Where it's like the heart of that game experience is like the new cards and the new things that you're dealing with. And once you've played through all the cards, it's actually gets stale, so you need new stuff to play with. You're somewhere in between here, but the fact that it's randomized is the only, I think, variable here that's like not.
The thing that, and once again, we're talking before the game is out, so like all of this is supposition, right?
Sure.
It is. I think that there's something really cool to me about, I go to your house and your copy of the game is just slightly different than my game. Especially when you talk about like a simple game, that.
Right. We're playing Uno, but you've got to draw 3, which I've never seen before.
Yeah. I mean, my thing is, like, we're playing Uno, and here's draw 3. I've never seen draw 3. Or I have purple cards. I've never seen purple cards. That's part of the fun of the trading card game experience, is the idea that I get to learn things and the game's bigger than it exists, and that. Really what I'm trying to do, and the one difference maybe from what some of the stuff you've done in the past, is I'm just aiming lower in complexity. Like, I'm trying to make a game that it's on par with a game you would buy at the store that you can just sit and play. And that I literally, like I said, I'm trying to, what's the end of the trading card game that's as simple as we can make it?
Yeah. I think it's an admirable area to shoot at, but like, there's a couple different ways I want to go, but you mentioned this is one of the primary reasons you're on the show. So I want to dig in further, right? You've spent more than 20 years trying to get this game made.
Yes.
What, like, I mean, I've had games on a shelf for a long time, but for the most part, I just get to decide when I want to make a game, fortunately, but it's not like, what drove you for that? And what was the, like, how did you, one, what kept you going? 2, what turn the tide? Is it just like, okay, like Magic's making enough money now, let's give Mark his pet project?
Okay, so there's a talk I've been putting together right now talking about the game, and I tried everything. Let's try this, let's try that. I literally, at one point, I had a friend who programmed it. We made a digital version of it. I had a version where we were putting pop culture images on it. I had a version where we took pictures of employees. I tried a lot of different things, but here's how it eventually got made. So in 2016, there's a guy named Mark Hagan who joined Wizards. He joined in R&D, and at the company holiday party, I played Moose Wings with him. Why did I play Moose Wings with him? Because I just played Moose Wings with anybody that I could play Moose Wings with. And so anyway, in December of 2016, I played Moose Wings with him. Now let's flash forward to 2024. Secret Lair. So Mark Hagan went on to make Secret Lair. So for those that don't know what Secret Lair is, Magic has sort of a brand that sells directly to the consumer. And the idea is there's things that are wacky and fun and weird that is just because Magic's so big, it's hard to go through stores. Some ideas are small enough that like it just doesn't make sense financially to sort of make enough to go through the stores because the volume you need is so high. So what if we just sell directly to consumers? We make things that, okay, if a small number of people could want this and we can make it, and it still makes sense to do it. So Mark had done that. Secret Lair had been very, very successful, and he was just looking at new things to do with Secret Lair. And so he came up with the idea, what if we sold a game? What if Secret Lair sold a game? And he remembered my game from 8 years earlier that I had shown him at the party. And so he comes to me and he says, hey, Secret Lair would like to make a game. Would you mind if we made mood swings? And so you understand, I spent like 28 years like spinning everywhere, playing with like CEOs and directors and anybody who'll play, making pitches, like making every possible version of this game. And
that is so good.
Yes,
oh my God.
And that's what happened was I showed it to the right person among the thousands of people I showed it to, who 8 years later was in a position where it mattered. And the reason, by the way, the interesting thing is the big strike against it all these years is it's a little experimental, right? Like you and I are talking, like, is this a workable plan? Is this business model? Can it work? Like, there's all these big questions that are unanswered. But Secret Lair is like, we want to do something big and bold and different. Our brand is we do things that aren't normal, right? Yeah. We do quirky things. So the very thing that was the stopping block everywhere else, all of a sudden became the thing that was most excited him. He's like, let's try this thing that, like he knows I've been trying to make it forever. Yeah. And so like the thing that finally got it made was the weird quirkiness of it ended up being its feature eventually. I just had to find the right person. To him, it was a feature. And then that's what got it made.
Wow. That's hilarious. I think, at a deep level, never give up, never surrender. There's a degree to which you never know what path things are going to take. And just like putting your game out there. I have a few games that are like this myself, right? I have a variation of something I tried to get at. I don't know if you ever played my the Ringmaster game I released like 7-8 years ago. I have a new version of that I want to do, but it's basically was my attempt at like it's kind of a cross between like Flux and Type 1 Magic with a circus theme is the easiest way for me to describe it. And what that means is I think Flux is one of the best examples of like the purest one of the purest TCG type experiences, right? Because for me, outside of the like collectible like purchase model, the idea that the rules are all in the cards is one of the things that makes TCGs special. And it's like that magic of that. And Flux is that as much as it's just there's literally a card in the center that says what the rules are. I don't know Flux.
Flux basically is there are no rules. The cards will tell you. Like I don't think there's a win condition when the game starts. Maybe there's one win condition, but
I don't think so.
And then the cards just say, well, here's a new rule. Here's a rule that the game now has.
Yeah.
And there's many different versions of Flux, and different Flux have different rules, and but
that's right.
The nature of Flux. You start and there's no rules.
Yeah, the cards tell you there's one rule card in the center, and that just tells you basically draw a card, play a card, and then the cards will tell you like put this card in front of you, and this is a new goal. You win the game if you do this and this, and it was like that always really inspired me as like when we talk about making the simplest version of a TCG, like to me that's one of the things that came to mind, and so I made a version of that was like a little bit more of like the Magic kind of crazy cards, still no complexity, like no creatures are attacking or anything like that, but I think like playing at that space is really interesting. And it took me a decade to get that game, the first version of that game made, and then now the second version is still sitting. It's been 5 or 6 years. I haven't figured out exactly how I want to make it yet. So there's just I think it's just worth highlighting these things because even for designers, like you and where we've been successful and we've done out there, there are still things and projects that can take decades to come to life.
Oh, I mean, when I say to people, look, I've been the head designer of Magic since 2003. Okay, so over 20 years, I've been the head designer of Magic, like the number one trading card game in the world, and I come up with a trading card game. I have trouble selling a trading card game, and I'm the head designer of the top trading card like that. And that's one of the things, I was excited to come on the podcast, which is that no matter who you are, you still have to sell your idea. And that I think that the interesting thing about me is one of the lessons I learned in Magic was if I have a good idea, it'll find a home. And there's things like for example, there's a mechanic in Magic called Energy that I originally made for a set called Mirrodin, but we took it out. and we finally did it in a set called Kaladesh 13 years later. And I think there's something about if I find something that I just think is good, I will not give up on it because I'm like, I will find, and the core to Mood Swings, I think, is in my heart of hearts, I just had total faith in it and I just refuse to give up on it. And I'm just stubborn. Maybe that's another important element here. Aaron Forsyth, my boss, he jokes that I have a 20 in stubbornness, if I was a D&D character, I've maximized stubbornness. I will, in fact, why do I keep writing all these articles? Like, why haven't I given up? Haven't I written enough articles? It's my nature. I don't give up on things.
Well, one lesson that you taught me more than 20 years ago that has always stuck with me is your greatest strength is your greatest weakness. And
yes.
and so this idea of stubbornness and I would use the word tenacity is a superpower. And sometimes it can frustrate the hell out of everybody around
it gets me in trouble all the time.
Yeah. But it's true. And
my stubbornness has never caused me problems because it has.
Yeah. No, and it's important. I mean, I've had ideas and I've worked through and built up, and I've been for 15 years plus, and you for 20 years plus, and it just being willing to believe in an idea that you have and work through it, and then find that balance where you can trust your gut in something, but also listen to the data and listen to the world where you get feedback to either refine it or improve it or figure out when the right time is, or there's an art form to that, like how you navigate the leveraging your strength and leveraging other people or other resources to help you, realize when you need to shift gears.
And I mean, in some ways, the answer to how I got this made was other people. Like, the correct answer was I just tried to get everybody I could to play it. Like, that was I did a lot of other things, but one of my strategies is just anybody who I ever met, I try to get them to play it.
Yeah.
And in my back of my head, I didn't know where it would pay off. I didn't like, that's another great lesson. You don't know who's going to be your champion. You don't know who's going to be the person that them liking it is the one that gets it made. And like I said, when I played with Mark back in 2016, like, Secret Lair didn't exist yet. Like, he was a brand new employee. It wasn't like, I need to play with this person because they have this. He was just the newest hire. I was playing with him because I played with everybody. And that's kind of a good lesson, which is you never know. You never know where the thing that will matter. You never know. And that if you care about something, explore lots of options, and.
Well, yeah, and I think share your work generously is another piece that I give a lot of advice on, right? Like there's a lot of people for whom they have this weird, like, oh, I've got this cool game idea, but I'm not going to show it to you because it's like it's secret, or you've got to they protect their ideas like they're these precious gems instead of like sharing them and like helping them to grow by exposing them to sunlight and the other resources that exist in the world. Like, I think it makes you have to get lucky, quote unquote, to be able to succeed and have a game succeed, but you increase the surface area for luck to strike if you expose it to a variety of people and things.
And correctly, I mean, let's say I made Mood Swings, say, this is a great game, and I'm not going to tell anybody it's my own private game, and I never showed anybody ever. Then it would just be my little private game that my wife and I play, and that would be it, right? But like, I had the exact, my whole point was I want everybody in the world to possibly know about this game to know about this game. Like, the funny thing right now, when I tell people, I mean, we haven't, at the time of us recording this, we haven't officially announced it yet, so I haven't been able to tell people. But the response I expect to get from people is like, really? That I played that game 20 years ago.
Yeah. That was my response when you reached out to me. I was like, oh, damn, that's so cool. It's finally happening.
Another thing I want to talk about, we talked about emotions a little bit, but I want to get into that. And this was from the game from the very, very beginning. So one of the things I said, one of the things about Magic that, I mean, Magic is, the flavor of Magic is about you're in a magical combat, right? You're wizards dueling. And it definitely has a certain air to it. I attack with creatures, I kill creatures. Like, there's definitely, I don't know if violence is quite the right word, but there is a lot of, some of the flavor of it is off-putting to some people. And
yeah, I mean you're definitely murder. There's a card called murder, right? I mean, like, there's like let's not hide the violence.
So one of the things that I wanted to do when I was trying to make this more mass market is that I wanted to find what I consider to be the most universal IP I could get. And I kind of went back once again. Like I said, my core message as a writer is like we're all emotional human beings. My mom is a psychologist. I've been fascinating with this forever, and there's something about emotions to me that are so like I talk about resonance. Like how do you get people to connect to things? Well, if I can find something that people understand, they'll connect to it. And I'm like, okay, there's nothing more universal to the human experience than emotions. And that one of the things for this game that I spent infinite time on is like, I want every card to be that emotion when you play. You're like, I got it. That's that thing. And that, like, it's one of the things that's really fun is just like, I remember I was playing a game and there's a card called Curiosity where you have to reveal your hand and people can see what you have in your hand. And so I had shown that I have anxiety when I revealed Curiosity. So I was talking and I said something, I go, well, you all know I have anxiety. And somebody walking by the game that wasn't even playing the game, he goes, that's what I love about mood swings. I have no idea what's going on here, but you get to say sentences like that.
Yeah.
And then, so there's something that to me that really spoke of that. I'm also, a lot of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make something that's very universal and very sort of simple in a way that is fun and resonant. And I'm really interested to see, like, it was mood swings and emotions from day one. Like it never, ever, ever moved from that. Hate destroyed a card from day one, and that is kind of, there's something about it to me that's very universal that I'm excited to sort of like see other people experience it. And once again, like we and I were talking before, I know nothing. The game is not out.
Yeah.
Like the game, so it's going to be on Secret Lair June 1st. So anyone who's interested in buying the game, you can go online, Secret Lair, buy it on June 1st, but it is not out yet. In May, the beginning of May, we're going to have a convention. We're going to let people play it for the first time, but it's not, we're recording this before that happens. So this is all speculation. This is just,
yeah. No, so let's talk to emotions then, right?
Yes.
You're in a really interesting place right this moment as we're recording this. So the world does not know. Like, what is it like to be you right now? How does it feel?
I mean, so here's the interesting thing. At the beginning of my talk that I gave, I said, I'm going to show you a picture, and this picture is going to tell you my next hour talk. But I'm going to show you a picture, so I'm going to prepare you for what you're about to see. And the picture I show is Charlie Brown, Lucy, and the football. And that this has just been, I kept trying to kick the football, and every time I thought I was going to kick the football, nope, I'm not going to kick the football. And so finally, okay, it's on the schedule, and part of me, this internal part of me is like, I don't believe this is going to happen. Like, this ball has been kicked in. And so I remember we got what's called first offline, where when they print the cards, they send them in. So I literally am holding in my hand printed mood swings cards. And my first reaction is, maybe we're actually making this. Like I'm holding the cards in my hand.
Yeah, you're still maybe.
But even then, like there's part of me right now that I need to see other people play the game. Like it is, I'm in an emotional state right now for sure, because I'm very excited. Obviously, like normally when I make a Magic set, I have to wait 3 years, maybe 4 years of the longest. Like I make something and I have to wait for people to see it. And then I just have to go, okay, I'm forget about that. I'm going to make new things and I'll worry about the new things. But hey, one of the hard parts about making something, and you know this, is that it takes a while from you making it to anybody seeing it and responding to it.
Yeah.
And that's a hard part of the job. Like you want right away for people to respond to it. That's this, like, if a normal set is 3 to 4 times, this is 8, 9 times that, and so like I said, I'm very excited, but I'm also like, my emotions are raw in the sense that I hope it goes well. Like I have a lot on the line. It would suck to say I tried for 28 years to make this, and the response is, that will suck if that happens. I don't know,
Yeah, well, listen, it's a massive accomplishment to get something like this out there, and it's going to be exciting. I know that it's not going to be whatever.
I have some faith in it. I do. To be fair, I would not for 28 years try to get the game made if I don't, at my core, believe it's a really good game. I do obviously believe it's really good, and I have faith people will see that. But one of the things, like I said, talking emotions is like, I think that a lot of insecurities just come from, things that you tried and failed at. That's where insecurities come from, like in my early years, like I took a while trying, my dating life did not, my teenage years were not the best for my dating life. And hey, for a while it was really hard because like you just build up to like, okay, no one wants to go on a date with me. What's wrong with me? And then eventually you find someone. I've been married now 25 years, and okay, like I have a lot more confidence now. Like I found somebody, like, okay, I'm capable of doing this. But and mood swings is this thing that like it was me constantly trying to prove to people that it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
And mostly what I got is people going, yeah, I really do like it. It's a good game, but it was always the but, you know, like early on, I wanted to sell it, but like, well, we weren't in mass market audience. Like we didn't sell to mass market at the time when I first started making the game. Like Wizards was just in local game stores and we hadn't yet sold in mass. So like, well, that's a mass game. We're not doing mass things yet. Or when we bought Gamekeeper, they wanted to make games for Gamekeeper. It was a game store that we bought. And my game was too complicated to make for the game stores, but at the time was too simple for Wizards to make. You know, like each time along the line, here's the reason why we can't make it. And I'm not making like the reasons were real reasons. And that's the other big thing today is I'm not at any point ever knocking Wizards. Like every time someone said no, it didn't come from a mean place. It just came from I'm looking at the business numbers and right now this doesn't fit our portfolio and this isn't something we're going to make right now.
Yeah, I mean, I remember from one of my previous podcast episode with Peter Atkinson, that was one of the things that shocked me and made perfect sense in retrospect was he's like, yeah, well, if there was any project, even if it was going to be a profitable project that was going to make less than $30 million a year, it was not worth it for us to do it. Like it was, we would be better off just putting those same resources into Magic. And the only reason that the bar was set at $30 million a year was because he wanted to make Dungeons and Dragons, and Dungeons and Dragons was making $30 million a year. And so he just like set the bar low enough so that they could still make Dungeons and Dragons. And so anything that would be like, you know, this we got a $10 million a year profitable game, which I would be thrilled with for my company, is just not even worth paying attention to. And so you trying to make this game that does have some mass appeal, does have some repeat purchase, but probably isn't going to be Magic, is tricky.
Here's another important thing. Let me talk about this thing. So one of the things I did do when I first made the game, it was a 3-color game. It's red, green, and blue, you know. And at some point I realized that in order to get the game made, I needed to be able to pitch to the people who made Magic, why should we make this game? And eventually what I said is, well, I think the reason you want to make this game for Magic is, look, the more people get involved in trading card games, the better, right? And so I switched it from a 3-color game to a 5-color game. And not just any 5 colors. Surprisingly, it's white, blue, black, red, and green. And, you know, and so what I did is, like right now, if you play the game of Mood Swings, all the effects in the game line up with the color pie. Like it's color pie adjacent. If I'm going to bounce the card, it's in blue. If I'm going to make you discard, it's in black. And all the emotions, I mean, I'm a color pie fanatic, so I lined all the emotions up with the color pie. So like, and the initial game that we're selling, all the art on the cards are sketches of actual published Magic art. In fact, the M and the G in the Mood Swings logo is the Magic M and the Magic G from the Magic logo.
Wow.
So
okay.
One of the things about this game is, look, I mean, obviously I'm the head designer for Magic, so no one's hiding Magic influence on this game. But part of what this game also is, part of my pitch to this game was, look, I think we get people to play this game and will never play Magic, but I think some people who play this game could learn about the love of trading card games and maybe one day get to Magic.
Yeah.
You know?
So this is another interesting thing. So it's, you know, this sort of core theme of how you get something done and how you get a project made. Like you morphed it from what it was into something that would fit better into the channel that you felt was the most likely to succeed. So you actually morphed the game into a product that fits more closely into the Magic wheelhouse.
So I'll borrow something you like to say all the time, which is iterative loops. Your game gets better the more iterative loops you get. So I've had 28 years of iterative loops. I mean, this game's gone through a lot of changes, and to be honest, the game is way better now than it was 28 years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if the very first time I pitched it, they let me put it out, it would not be nearly as good a game as it is now. Like one of the advantages of them not doing it for Wilds, I kept working on it. And guess what? I kept also working on Magic, and my skills got better because I kept refining my skills. And so like the Mood Swings is the best version it could be. And part of it has been, well, I've been working on it forever. And then, you know, I did a lot of things. Like one of the real interesting things was there's a point in time where in the game right now, you draw a 5-card hand. And when you lose, you draw a card. But originally you drew a 7-card hand. And one of my coworkers said, no, you people have to dream that there's something coming, right? You don't want to open your hand and go, oh, I guess I'm not going to win. Like you need the dream of something. And so he convinced me, okay, don't have and that's when we changed it. So, okay, I'm going to get 7 cards in theory because you have to win best of 3. I in theory, if we go to get the turn 5, I'll have 7 cards, but I don't get all of them up front, and that actually just made the game better.
Yeah, and I think from when you sent me the rules, I looked at I don't think there was the sort of catch up mechanic, the hurt feelings mechanic.
Oh yes, so the story behind that is, I've been designing this game mostly as a 2-player game. So when we got on the schedule, we had an open house so we could teach people teach people Mood Swings so they could play. And what came out of that open house was some people are like, oh, well, can we play multiplayer? I'm like, yeah, it works in multiplayer. But there were a lot of cards that weren't optimized for multiplayer. And so one of my goals after that was, okay, I'm not selling this as a 2-player game. I need to sell this as a 2, 3, or 4-player game. And so I had to figure out, how do I adapt the cards so it works well in 2-player, which it mostly did, but it also works well in 3 and 4-player. And one of my play testers gave me this horrible review, and they really disliked things. And I went and talked to her and tried to understand. And like from that conversation of this, I hate this, I came out of this idea of, oh, maybe we need a component that is in 3 and 4-player games that's just not in 2-player games. Because once you get beyond 2 players, you have what we call politics, right? So a political game is some of the decisions are people convincing other people to do something. In a 2-player game, there's no decisions. I'm beating my opponent. I'm just going to do what's best for me to beat my opponent. But in a 3-person game, I could, who do I help? Who do I hurt? Now there's politics involved, and that it just needed something that's a little different. And so out of that conversation, we made this little piece called Hurt Feelings, which is basically the person who loses the round gets hurt feelings, and they get to play an extra card on the next turn.
It's whoever loses the most, basically, because there's still only one win. There's only one winner each round.
There's only one winner each round.
But the losiest person.
Yes, the losiest person gets the hurt feelings, and it just made 3 and 4-player games play infinitely better.
Yeah.
And that, like I said, that just came about. Like, one of the things that's really interesting is, like, on some level, when I work on Magic, I mean, even sets that I'm intimately involved with, I'm the lead of, there's only so much. I mean, there's so many people working on it. Like, my total percentage in, 20% maybe at my all-time top or something. Like there's a lot of people working on it, and I influence things, but I'm one of many people who are influencing things. But Mood Swings is like, look, I did the lion's share of Mood Swings, but even then, it, like, just having other coworkers. Some of the coworkers played once or twice with me, but they gave me one good piece of advice, and then I changed things based on that, and the game was better. And then that is, it's funny because, like, one of the advantages of this game, I've just played with so many people, and everybody gives me, opinions on stuff, and figuring out, like I kept iterating on it, and that it just kept getting better, I felt.
Okay, well, I can't wait to play it, since I only got the 20 years ago version. I think the last time I played it was probably, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I've had some coworkers come back who hadn't been at Wizards for a while, and I've said, I'm putting the game on. They're like, I haven't played that and whatever. I'm like, well, let's play again. So
yeah, well, so there was one comment you made throughout this process, and I don't know if you were just saying it because you wanted to get Mood Swings made, or if you think it's really true. You said that there's more trading card games is good for Magic.
Yes.
And so
a rising tide raises all boats, I believe, is the expression.
Okay. So that, I think, is generally true in gaming. And in fact, one of the reasons why I love being in the tabletop gaming industry more so than, I've dabbled in the digital games as well and other industries, is everybody is like, this is the friendliest freaking industry. Everybody loves to share information and help each other lift up. Trading card games, traditionally, there has been a theory that, like, listen, trading card games are a big investment. You have you put a lot of money and time and personal identity into these games, and that most people are only going to play 1, maybe 2 trading card games. Do you not feel that that's the case, or do you think that is still net?
Well, I mean,
positive.
I believe so. Once again, we get to the spectrum. I believe on the Magic side of the spectrum, yes, it's hard to play a lot of trading card games when there's so much investment. Like, it depends how much space the game fills to a certain extent. Yeah. I mean, the whole idea of Mood Swings is, look, it's a fun game you can play once in a while. Like, it is not, I don't think Mood Swings is ever going to fill the space of something like a Magic. It just can't. It is, by definition, it can't. It's a lighter, smaller game.
Yeah. Well, but let's speak to the industry more broadly then, because I think
sure.
It is. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, I believe that at any one moment in time, it is hard to dedicate yourself to more than one trading card game. But like, I believe that if you like trading card games, at some point, maybe you change trading card games. You know what I'm saying? And that, for example, there are certain trading card games that get kids into trading card games. Great. And at some point, maybe they outgrow that game. And like Magic's competitive advantage, I mean, to be blunt, it's a great game. It's just a really, really good game. And that I believe that if you can sample Magic and you are receptive to what Magic is, we have a good chance of you playing Magic. It's just a really fun game. Now, and when I say a rising tide raises all boats, the more people that play trading card games, the more people that are aware of trading card games, the more people in the, just the more people that, the bigger the audience is, I have faith for Magic at least, they will sample Magic at some point if they're in trading card games.
Yeah.
And not all of them will come to Magic, but some of them will come to Magic.
Yeah. Why not Magic? I think that, well, because I'm curious to get your assessment of this, because we are in like the biggest trading card game boom in history.
Oh, yes.
So, and in ways that are, like back in the early 90s, right after Magic was released, and everybody's like, oh my God, trading card games are amazing. Let's all do trading card games. And then there was this massive boom of a bunch of trading card games, and then most of them crashed and burned. And then there was, a few, you kind of basically had Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! As basically the big three that survived. And then now there are dozens of what seem to be very successful. In fact, as we're recording this, the most successful trading card game crowdfund ever is happening with the Cyberpunk TCG, and so there's it's quite remarkable. Like, what do you see as going on there? Is it like, is this sustainable? Is it just like why is this resurgence happening now, I guess?
Well, okay, for starters, I do believe trading card games as a core concept. Like when Richard made Magic, there's a thing I call the golden trifecta, which is like, I think there's 3 genius ideas that Richard made when he made Magic. And one of them is the idea of a trading card game. People inherently like to collect things. That people like flexibility. They Magic does a lot of things. Trading card games in general do a lot of really good things. Like the idea that I could shape what the game is, and I have control of how to play it, and I have some ability to influence what it is, I think is very compelling. And I think that there's different games are tapping into different elements of it, but really what I think is going on is like the first boon of trading card games were people just getting into it because Magic was doing well. And most of the trading card games in the early days were horrible. They were not good games. Literally people that like, I'm just going to make a trading card game and not understand what trading card games, and I'm just going to make one. Like, okay, but they didn't understand what trading card games. So trading card games have now matured. Magic is 33 years old, right? And so you now have people who grew up on trading card games, be it Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever, who truly do understand trading card games. And now there's a new level of designers. Although I should joke, the majority of trading card games are designed by people I worked with once at Wizard. So,
yeah.
But
you're not wrong.
Anyway, there's just a whole new swath of game designers that kind of respect and understand trading cards, and there's a lot of cool things you can do with them.
And so I agree, and I think that there's a higher caliber. I still think that there's it's in the dozens of people in the world that can do this job well still at this stage, but there's many out there that are now making trading card games. I like to think of myself as one of them. And then my question is, what when you think about the blue ocean space of games, right? You obviously, Magic is the behemoth. It's number one. It's going to stay number one. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of other territories out there that maybe aren't claimed, and you're going for this interesting kind of starter pseudo TCG experience now with Mood Swings. What else do you see as exciting space? Like if you weren't working at Magic and you had the opportunity, I was like, Mark, we're going to go and make your cool TCG outside the box thing now that really has a decent what excites you now?
Well, I mean, to be honest, we're in a tricky area because I do work for a trading card game company, and like if I have really innovative ideas, they would like to hear them. So
sure. But, I guess I think about it in terms of obviously don't say anything you're not allowed to say, but like things that like you couldn't do with Magic, right? Like so I've had this experience when I made Shards of Infinity, my deck building game. Was like there was things and mechanics and things I wanted to do, I wanted to bring to life that I couldn't do in Ascension. Like most things I was like, I'll find a way to put it in there. Like Magic has a niche. There's things that maybe would be really cool that like you can't touch with a 10-foot pole because it's Magic.
I mean, for example, Mood Swings is a good example of me explaining this concept, which is Mood Swings let me make a trading card game that wasn't Magic, and that I was able to make concepts. And like, there's a lot of overlap. I mean, there's certain ideas of what you like. I can draw a card, I can discard. I mean, there's certain things that any card game will do because they're just actions you can do with a card game. But it was really fun. Like, one of the things that I love about top-down design. So for the audience, top-down design means you start with the flavor and then you match the mechanic to match the flavor. Like, for example, for Mood Swings, I'm like trying to design emotions, which has been super fun, like, and the cool thing is it gets you, Universes Beyond is the same kind of thing, is you just make things that you wouldn't normally make because you never would think to make of it. But now that you're, okay, I'm trying to take the idea of bashfulness, and I want to make a card out of it. Well, how do I represent bashfulness? What does that mean? You know what I'm saying? And that I came up with a card mechanic that I love that I don't think I would have made. I only got there because I was I knew it was bashfulness,
Yeah.
And the thing that I would look for if I was making a new card game is just, I would try to find flavor space that is new and different. That's what I would do. Meaning, where is the fun resonant space that people could connect to? I mean, that's my big takeaway from working on Magic for so long is, I mean, our theme today, emotions matter, is our theme today, is your audience is going to experience something when they play your game. If you can make them experience something that is unique to what they're playing through your game, that's the goal of game design, right? That I want someone to play a game and go, oh my God, I've never experienced this thing, but I love this thing I'm experiencing. I must play this game again. That's like the whenever you do a play test, the number one question is, do you want to play again?
That's right.
And if they say no, you're doomed.
Yeah.
That's the big thing. And I think a lot of it just comes down to, am I creating something in the player? And there's a lot of ways to do this. There's a lot of ways to get that emotional reaction, but you have to do something that gets that emotional reaction. And usually, here's the big secret. 90% of whatever it is that they're emotional about has nothing to do with you. You're just tapping into something that's already there. And the way I explain that, for example, is, let's say, in Magic, like, we make cat decks. The reason people like cat decks is not like, oh, we've made the best mechanics ever with cats. No, people love cats. And then, we're letting them play cats or squirrels or whatever it is that's making them happy. And that's a lot of cool gameplay is, I want to do something where what my audience gets to experience is something really exciting, and then I'm tapping into something that nobody else is tapping into.
Yeah, that's interesting. So finding that either thematic and emotional core that's not currently being
for Mood Swings, I think my simplicity of gameplay is one of the selling features, but probably in the end, emotions might be the thing. Like, if it's successful, emotions might be why it's successful. It's just super fun to say, I hate your curiosity, or haha, I'm playing anxiety, or whatever. Like, just having the ability to play a game where I'm just connecting in experience. Like, the amount of times I played Mood Swings where people are just sharing things about themselves that are just because they have this card combination, I remember I was playing with my friend, and like, he plays Self-Loathing. He goes, I understand this card, like, stuff like that.
Oh, buddy. Yeah, no, I that's a really great point. I think that the I don't think I can think of another. While Magic's color pie, which we didn't really fully get into, which may be worth clarifying for people a little bit. There are emotions that are tied to the color pie, and like how the each faction is meant to feel. It's not quite as explicit as you have here. Where
when I talked about Richard came up with 3 genius ideas, my golden trifecta. One of them was the color pie, another one of the genius ideas. And the idea of the color pie is, imagine if your game was built on top of core human ideas. And so each of the colors represents, it's a type of magic. In Magic, it represents a type of magic, but really it represents, like, white is all about you're wanting to be peaceful and get along and work together, and chivalry, and like, it's just about trying to find the goodness in people. Where black magic is about, it's being very selfish and doing whatever you need to get what you want, and if you have to hurt other people, whatever, as long as I get what I need, that. And each one of them represent different concepts. And the cool thing about the Magic is every color has 2 allies and 2 enemies. So there's things they care about with their allies, and there's conflicts with their enemies. And I've written infinite stuff on this, but it's this really cool, really magical thing that Richard made that we've worked on for 30 years. And the reason I think the color pie is so meaningful is, again, it just taps into core human experience.
Yeah.
Like when I say to you, what guild are you? Because we did a thing called Ravnica where we took every color and we paired them up, and there's 10. If you have 5 colors, you can pair them up in 10 ways. And then, okay, what guild are you? I'm blue red because this is why, and blue and red combine to make creativity, and I'm creative and stuff like that, and all of a sudden it emotionally means something to you. Yep. I think that's really impactful.
Is it for sure? I think that yeah, well, it's why everybody loves the whole what Harry Potter house are you, or what character in Transformers are you, even all those little polls, the personality polls or whatever, right? Like people love to be categorized and love to find these batches.
Right.
Even
the city character are you?
Yeah. Well, even the thing, right? Like, so your psychographic player profiles is a big part of kind of design technology, or lessons that are there, right? And I've broken down my own player motivations groups, and I don't think any one of them is like magically correct. I think they are powerful, insightful lenses, right? Like the way that the color white breaks down a subset of human emotions is not like magically the right thing, but it is in fact the fact that you can group them together and people can resonate with one or another means something. And it's like I can symbolically represent myself and feel drawn to a thing that helps now becomes part of my identity and part of how I represent and express myself in a game or in a moment or in a thing, in a meme I share online. Like we're constantly craving that.
Yeah. Here's another tip for you, for your audience. If you can make your audience see themselves in your game, you will be very successful. That people want to see themselves and elements of themselves. Like there's something very human about I am what I am, and then I can see myself in other things is so powerful. And once again, we're talking about emotional responses. There's something very powerful in seeing that connection. And that's why I think the color pie is so powerful. It's why, whatever it is, like, and this is the powerful part of trading card games in general, is it divvies things up into some category, and what category are you? And then you have to self-select, and the categories mean something, and you can connect in your life why this category means something to you.
Are there other examples of games outside of Magic that come to mind where people make the audience see themselves in the game, just to kind of refresh that point?
Oh, further? Yeah. I mean, I think all games do that. So I'll use Dungeons & Dragons as an example. One of the cool things about a role-playing game is I can take elements of me that I always wanted to express, but it's hard to express it. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm a fighter who does, I can role play and be something that maybe is really true to me and it's really fun to be, but I don't feel I can normally do that. But it lets me express something about myself.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm a fighter is I just want to hit people. In real life, I can't just go hit people. But in D&D, I can be the fighter and I can go smack people. And like one of the things that's really fun in role playing, especially, is that I get to sort of do. You've said this. Games let you live life in a safe way, right? You said this infinite. I've listened to your podcast. You say this infinitely. That what you want to do is you want to do things that you want to do in a safe space where there's no harm that comes from it.
Yeah.
And it's really fun to, play a choir and I'm a businessman and I'm doing all this. Like it's whatever the game is, it's fun to have that experience. And that really a good game just says, okay, here's the thing you want to do, and I'll let you do it, and then you can experience that thing, and it's fun to be that thing.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's great. Thanks for the extra illustration there. And no, just so I make sure, because I'm sure my audience will kill me if I didn't do it. We said 3 genius ideas. We got trading card game concept, color pie concept.
The third is the mana system of Magic.
Okay.
It's funny. It's the thing that people most complain about. But it's, for example, there's so many different game designers who there's a moment where they come to me and they go, I finally understand the mana system. It's like you have to sort of not do it. And then you see the disaster that it is. You're like, oh, I didn't understand the genius of the mana system.
Yes.
And one of the things the mana system, it does a whole bunch of things, but one of the things, there's this thing, you want your opponent to have something to blame that's not them. The ego is a fragile thing, and that just having something, why did you lose? Well, it's not me. That's decisions I made. I'm not the cause of my loss. This thing did it. Like just, I mean, that's just one component, but like that's super important.
Yes.
Or another thing it does is you want some unpredictability in your game, right? You want to not know what's going to happen, and that the land does a great job of some games just play out differently. Like that's a really important part is you want every game to feel different, and that man, like the game in which I get everything I need versus the game I don't are just very different experiences, and they're both really cool. Like for example, the story that people tend to tell in Magic is not I had everything I needed and I won. Those aren't the exciting stories. It's like, oh my God, how can I possibly win from the situation? And let me tell you how I won.
Yep. Yep. No, creating those stories. That's the other big game design lesson here, right?
Yeah.
That you want to be able to create those stories. Like, because the
Yes.
emotions that you get from these experiences convert into stories that then you share to
Yes.
get that emotion into other people, which is what gets them to want to play that game also. And those are the things that you remember. And I have,
Yes.
countless of these from my days, my years, so many years of playing Magic, where it's just these moments that just stick with you, both the thrilling, exciting victories and the horrific defeats or mistakes.
Yes.
Like those are the things, those are the stories I remember even more so. But yes, I think the variance that people complain about is also at the heart of the joy and the upside there that the mana system empowers.
Yeah, I mean, I like tying our themes together. Just 'cause that's the nature of how I like to do these is highs and lows are important.
Yeah.
That if everybody likes your game, meaning if everything's at medium, that's not what's going to attract people. That you need to make them love and hate it on some level. Like you need to evoke strong emotions, and that's what people remember. And you're saying even negative things, like even oh my God, here's where I lost in a horrible way, and it really mattered at the time. And I'm sure you tell that story at the end of time, the time that you're like it sticks with you. And like there's a concept I call narrative equity, which is that what does a game have to offer people? Now you get to have fun in the moment, you get to experience things, you get to feel things. But one of the things that also does is what do I walk away the game with?
Yeah.
And some of it is I learn things, I get skills. Like there's lots but one of the things is stories. And as a game designer, don't underestimate the power of your game creating stories.
Yes.
It is not just what makes people fall in love with your game. It is the best marketing that you could possibly have.
Yeah, that's right.
When someone I have to tell you about my game and what happened. People go, wow, I have to play that game. That sounded amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, there are many games that lean into this in a way that like the game I actually think is not that good, but the stories from the game are so good. Like EVE Online is an example, and not to hate anybody that plays it, but like this is a game where there's like a real economy, and the players are the ones at the very top that like own battle stations and starships, and like you can actually destroy people's things that are worth thousands and thousands of dollars, and like you can, and so there are these stories that happen where like somebody infiltrated a corporation over years and like got there to turn down their security systems, and then there was a whole fleet that armada that came in and blew it all up and took over, and it was like $100,000 worth of like destruction and death. And I read about this thing online. I was like, this is the coolest thing. Oh my God, I'm going to play this game. And like, you start off at level 1 and you're like, I'm a mining ship. I go get the ore and I come back and I build the ore and I go with the thing. And I was like, after like 10 hours, I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like it was, but the story was so good. It like brought me into the world. I think.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, the thing, the more, I mean, having done this for so long now, is there's a in my GDC speech, the very first thing I said, like my very first lesson is your audience is human. Like
for now,
being a good game designer is just understanding humans. That's what being a good game designer is. Because like I said, you want to evoke emotions out of them. Well, you have to understand them. And that a lot of one of my truisms is don't change your audience to match your game, change your game to match the audience.
Yeah.
And that the best games are ones that just people get to do what they want to do, and that it makes them happy because it just naturally what they want to do is what the game provides them. And that's so important.
Yeah. My version of that is make player instincts the correct instincts. Like that if people want to do a certain thing, then like make that the thing. Like it's So I think that since you said your audience is human, I gotta shift to the topic of the day because this is the whole world is transforming with AI right now, and I know the art AI is its own thing that's a controversy, and we're not doing in Magic. I'm not doing it in Ascension, but as a creative tool, as a thing that is a new piece of potentially workflows. How have you played with it? What do you think of it? How do you see the world evolving with it?
I've played a little bit with it. So we have access at work to like ChatGPT. So I named mine Bob. And so I talk to Bob every once in a while. Um, the thing that shocked me most about AI that I just wasn't prepared for is what you think a computer would be good at is not remotely what AI is good at.
It's not data. It's not data from Star Trek.
Yeah, well, I mean, for example, the very first thing I did is I said to it, so the unsets are like fun, goofy sets that I made for Magic. So the very first thing I said is name 5 red uncards from any of the unsets. And it gave me a list of 5 cards. I'm like, well, 2 of those are red. 3 of those are not red. And they go, you are so correct. 3 of those are not red. Let me give you a corrected list. And then they gave me a list, and 3 of those, 2 were still wrong. And they go, well, 2 of these are still wrong. And they're like, you are so correct. Well, I'll be extra careful this time to make sure that I give you a full list. And they give me a list. And anyway, he kept getting it wrong. And it's like, the computer's incapable of just like giving me just normal facts. I'm not asking something complicated. Just give me a thing that's a list. But no, he can't do that. But when I say to it, write me a limerick about butterscotch candy, it can do that pretty well in a weird way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not no mocking it's real like people writing actual limericks, but you know, for my skill of not being able to tell a good limerick from a bad limerick, they seem like okay limericks. So what I've discovered is it's really good at doing like I just need lots of ideas, give me some, and most of them will be bad, but they'll just give me a huge number of ideas. That's what it seems to be best at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
as a partner for that sort of thing, it's quite good. And I mean, we've whatever, even just from the conversations we've had and the books recommended, like a lot of creativity is just like being able to generate more ideas and more variety. And they've done we've done studies on this. So that the team I've worked with at Wharton has done studies on this. Like AI today is more creative than 90% of humans, like in terms of just like the amount of ideas, the originality of the ideas judged by an independent panel. And so like the ability to have a lot of different stuff. Now the person who has the taste and the ability and the ability to turn it from this is actually the good idea and pull that out and move it forward.
Well, the interesting thing is, like one of the things that you've talked about this on your podcast, the good idea, 2 things. One is the good idea is not as important as people think. Like everyone assumes like once you get the good idea, it just makes itself. No. The execution is 99% of the work.
That's right.
And the other thing is just knowing what the good idea is in the first place. Like, I mean, maybe AI will get there at some point, but right now AI can make a giant list for you, and a lot of them are bad and some are good. It doesn't know the good from the bad. It can make them, and some of them can actually be interesting ideas. It just doesn't know what's the good ideas from the bad ideas. Like I said, maybe with time it will, but right now it doesn't.
Yeah. Another thing I found that's actually pretty interesting, right? Because you talked about the importance of data and obviously having access to your customer and being able to talk to your customer and talk to your players and see what they think, which is invaluable, but often not accessible for small designers companies, or you have to talk to a handful of people, but you can't really get a lot of data. I've actually found it's simulating. I've actually even fed it your very psychographic profiles.
Okay.
Hey, you're Timmy, you're Johnny, you're Spike. Look at reference Mark's article and tell me what you think of these cards, and it'll give you feedback as a player, which is again not as good as talking to real humans, but I can do that in 10 seconds, whereas it would take me, many hours to survey and reach players. I found it to be another interesting and useful full tool in the toolbox.
I don't know. The AI is a weird thing. I like I said, it's a tool, and I do believe in general, understand how you should and shouldn't use a tool and stuff like that. It's kind of important.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, and look, and we can move to other topics. To me, it's always like as the world evolves, right? And it is shocking, Matt, it's shocking to me that tabletop games are as big as they are today. I'm grateful for it. And I actually now have revised my, if you ask me like when the iPhone came out and when, these things were and then iPad and all those things, like, are people still going to be playing tabletop games and are they going to keep growing? I would have said no chance. Like this is over.
I have a strong theory of why that is true.
Great. Hit me.
I believe that because our life has gotten so digitized, because everything's a screen, that the need for human interaction has just gone up so much.
Right.
And
I agree.
I think that is really the popularity of what tabletop games are booming is I spent all day in front of a screen. I just need to see other human beings. I just want to interact with other human beings. And I think that is such a need right now. And games just do that so well that's where I think that's where I think it's coming from.
Yeah, and I think that's right, and I think that's where I have revised and I think that trend is only going to increase, right? As more and more, there's more digitized things as AI agents start coming out into the world and the online, that like there was a study I saw that there's more content written by AI in 2025 than humans, and now it's only a matter of time before there's more AI content written than all that humans have ever done ever, and so it's just going to be very hard to like have real human connection online in the same way that we used to, and even that has never been the same as physical, actual connection and hanging around a kitchen table and seeing people at the local game store. So I think that is only going to become more and more important for people for mental health reasons and just pure joy of life reasons, and so I think is very I don't know how much you think about this, but for me, even with the more modest impact that my games have had compared to yours, like there's it's a lot of people's lives have like really been enhanced by this, and people like for Magic, there's people get the tattoos of the characters and get married over the things and get it transformed my life in ways I can't even describe. It completely turned the entire course of my life. How does it feel to be a part of that? I mean, not just a part of, but such a huge driver for that legacy in the work that you do.
Well, I mean, one of the things, my whole take on it is I've always said that I believe magic is a force of good. So I do a column every week, Making Magic, it's called. And so one week I said, hey, I want you to write stories about how magic has improved your life. Share positive, I just want happy stories of how magic has made your life better. And I got so much mail. So my normal article is 3,000 words. That week it was 8,000 words. And I printed a tiny percentage of what I got. And I mean, the amazing thing about reading all the letters was like, I mean, there were lighter stuff, but there was some really heavy stuff where like I was in a really bad place. And I don't know what would happen to me if magic hadn't been there, or I met my significant other, or I like this, like, right, life-changing events happen because of this. And that I take that that's very serious to me. Like I like to think that one of the things games does is it helps people. Yeah. And I believe that I believe a lot of good can come from games. And so I take that very seriously. And that one of the reasons that I still talk to people every day, that I answer questions every day, is I want to hear people directly on how they feel about the game. And that doesn't always have to be positive. People also complain. I trust me, plenty of people complain to me. But I mean, that is important, that human connection. That's the through line of our talk today. We're all humans. We need emotional connection, and that games do a great job of that. And I think that's one of the reasons that tabletop games, especially just face to face, sitting with my friends, like one of the evolutions of Magic has just been, social games have just become a bigger and bigger share because I have fun sitting with friends and playing, and that's just fun for me.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think that's also a good place for us to wrap it up. It is wonderful, and I look forward, even though we only get to interact over a screen today. Yes. I know we're going to get to see each other face to face in a couple months, and it's been one of the great joys of my life is our friendship and our connections that we've had, and now you get to share this experience these emotions with your new game, Mood Swings, yes. which is available in
June 1st on Secret Lair. So okay. Go to the Secret Lair website, June 1st, and you too can be part of the Mood Swing experience.
All right. Well, yeah. Anything else you want to add, Mark?
Well, this is the point where you say we're going to wrap up. So do you have any place people can find you?
Yeah. Well, let's go. I will. First, I'd say listen to the first episode with Mark Rosewater, where there's an incredible amount of this stuff.
It's episode number 2.
Outside of the going
is
to get
Minecraft
Mood
a game or a toy? Both. Listen to that episode. So there's a bunch of places people can find me if they want to find me. So I write an article every week on the Magic website called Making Magic, which I've been doing since 2002. I have a podcast I record every week. I do they're half-hour podcasts. I'm literally driving to work. That's why it's called Drive to Work. I do 30-minute podcasts every week. released on Fridays. I have a blog on Tumblr. So if you Google Tumblr Mark Rosewater, you'll find my blog. It's called Blogatog, where you can ask questions to me, and I will answer your. I mean, I get a lot of questions, so yeah, but I answer lots of questions every day. And I'm also on Infinite. So I'm on Blue Sky, Maro254 on Blue Sky, and anyway, I'm in many different social media places you can find me.
All the places and all the content, and more accessible than probably anybody at your level in this industry. So very, I know the fans appreciate it, even when that appreciation shows up in the form of hate mail.
By the way, well, I get my share of hate mail. I do get a lot of very nice people saying very nice things. So it's not all people saying horrible things.
Yeah, well, it's wonderful, and I will say the nice things that I have said about you in the past, but will continue to say I am a better designer and a better human being because of our friendship. I love the work that you do. I love the person that you are, and you have not just inspired people with the incredible games that you've made, but the lessons that you've taught. And as you mentioned, a lot of the people that are out there designing games, designing experiences, were trained by you directly and worked with you directly. And the content that you have put out there was a big part of the inspiration of why I do what I do and why I try to share this knowledge with other people. And so the ripple effects of your work are far beyond even the many millions that play and interact with it directly. So I'm very grateful for you, Mark, and thanks for being on the podcast.
Well, thank you so much. I guess I'll see you again in 7 years.
I'll see you at Comic-Con, but we'll be back on the podcast. Hopefully not that long.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me on.
Game design is a craft, and like any craft, it gets better with structure, feedback, and repetition. You're able to learn better when you're surrounded by like-minded people who support each other and lift each other up. The Think Like a Game Designer Design Lab is designed to give you all of that. Over 60 lessons from idea to publishing, a private game design Discord, and exclusive bonuses for those who join now and have been longtime podcast listeners. It's also the lowest price I've ever offered these exclusive lessons. And so you don't need to wait for a new class or wait for another opportunity. This is the opportunity. If you're ready to level up, if you're ready to build a career that you're passionate about, build the game you've been dreaming of, this is your time. Go to justingarydesigns.com to learn more. And thanks for listening. Thank you so much for supporting us through your pledges, podcast reviews, and enthusiasm on social media. It has been such an honor to be able to do this podcast for so many years and have such incredible guests and insights to present to you. This podcast would not exist without your support and your help. We've recently launched a new portal, justingarydesigns.com, where I've got weekly articles on game design and creativity, along with show notes, lessons from the podcast, and more exclusive insights to help you with your creative projects. We're building an entire community of people who are passionate about self-improvement, about creativity, and about spreading these messages as far and wide as we can. So please, if you're interested, come join us at justingarydesigns.com.